Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Straight Talk on Social Media. I always say good morning, good afternoon. I don't mean to, hurt your feelings if you are not in the Pacific time zone. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you all enjoyed watching the University of Oregon Ducks beat Kansas State last night, as much as the rest of us did. Welcome to Straight Talk on Social Media. We are going to be talking today about what to expect in 2013, as we do that, we'll be looking at some developments that we sort of expect to happen and some things that some analysts are predicting may happen or not. But anyway, we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But first, a bit of news from the last 3 weeks since the last Straight Talk webinar. First of all, a news report came out, and I apologize. My image here has nothing to do with my headline. My headline is correct. My image, sadly, not. Anyway, Google is going to start forcing users into Google+. And what that means is if you have a Gmail account, or if you have a YouTube user ID, or if you've used Google for any sort of service that they have, they are going to start automatically taking your username and sort of making you into a Google+ profile that can be searched for and things like that. So there won't be anything in that profile, of course, if you haven't put in anything. But that is something important to know about, because Google is going to start, I imagine that this is going to sort of falsely boost Google+'s numbers in a huge way, because they are going to be sort of starting to make all of Google users have a Google+ profile. So it's really I'm not super impressed with this tactic. Obviously, it is going to, make people take Google+ a little more seriously, but it seems like sort of a heavy-handed way to get people to use the service more. So I'm not a huge fan of this move, but they didn't ask me. So anyway, another piece of news here: Facebook, it sounds like, is going to be introducing video ads. So in addition to being able to run sort of the normal standard kinds of ads that you can on Facebook, now you'll be able to actually include some video ads. So that will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that, and whether or not that becomes a new source of revenue for them, and whether it's something the marketers jump on. But something to know about if you are thinking about Facebook ads in 2013. There have been a couple of interesting things about Facebook privacy in the last 3 weeks, as it seems like there always are. First of all, a study came out talking about how Facebook users, by and large, just do not understand Facebook's privacy policies. They sort of look at them and they agree to them because they have to, but by and large, people are not really educated at all about what the privacy policies are, what's in them, and what it means for actual users of Facebook. Also, another privacy issue that came up in the last 3 weeks. Right now, if you send a message on Facebook, if you send a message to somebody else who you're not friends with, if you send a direct message to them through Facebook and you're not friends with them, it goes into this obscure mailbox that actually you may want to check. Everyone has this mailbox. If you go into your messages and view all of your messages, on the left-hand side there's something that says Other, and that shows you a bunch of other messages that basically are considered by Facebook to be not priority messages, and so that would include things that people who are not your friends may have sent you. If I found Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook, then I could go ahead and send him a message, and I could pay an additional fee to actually get that message into his Facebook inbox, as opposed to just showing up in this random Other folder that most people don't see. So again, that's a pretty big privacy issue there. It's not unclear whether or not people are going to be able to opt out of that. And finally, the other big Facebook privacy thing that you may have heard about actually has to do with this photo here. So what happened is that Mark Zuckerberg's sister, Randy Zuckerberg, who I think is one of the people in this photo here, she posted this photo to her Facebook news feed, which is just a photo of the Zuckerberg gathering, I think around Thanksgiving, and she posted this on her news feed, and then somebody who was a friend of hers took it and posted it publicly on Twitter because it was a photo of Mark Zuckerberg, and who wouldn't want to tweet a photo of Mark Zuckerberg, I guess. Anyway, and it became this huge thing where Randy Zuckerberg got told the person that was not a cool thing to do, but it raised all these questions about what Facebook privacy really means, because if any of your friends can just take your photo and share it anywhere they want to publicly, then how private really is your information? And of course, this was sort of a bringing it home example, because it was a Zuckerberg gathering that this photo had been leaked. I think it's all sort of funny that such a big hullabaloo was made over what is such an ordinary, unusual, or a very usual sort of photo. There's nothing exciting about this photo. It's not revealing anything about Mark Zuckerberg. He's standing in the back, whatever. But it's, so it's not like this was revealing. It's really just this issue about privacy that people got enraged about. Speaking of privacy and things like that, Instagram put out some new terms and conditions, and within the terms and conditions, there was something in there that was basically making it sound like once you post something to Instagram, once you take a picture with Instagram and it's in your account, Instagram then has full rights to use that photo however it sees fit. And there was some sort of big uproar about this because people, thought that was not how Instagram should be, comporting itself. And so Instagram then put out a public message saying, we are not trying to use your photos. We have always believed that people own their own photos, which a commentator then that I read, said after that, well, they may have said that, and that's all well and good, but they didn't actually change anything in their privacy policies, or in their policies about ownership. And so it is interesting, sort of the line Instagram is walking here, where they're trying to be a cool service where people can share their photos, and yet they're also trying to take legal steps about exactly whose content is whose, which is a huge issue when it comes to social media. And finally, my one to watch this week is a service called Frostbox, and Frostbox is a service that works very similarly to Dropbox, which is if you don't know, it's a cloud a storage service for storing files in the cloud, storing them online. And so Frostbox is very similar to Dropbox in that regard. The interesting thing that I thought was fascinating about what Frostbox is doing is they are putting the message out there through social channels that anybody who has a clout score — clout is a social service you may have heard me talk about, that helps you sort of measure your influence in the social world. So anybody with a clout score over a certain level can promote Frostbox through their social channels, and in doing so receive back from Frostbox actual shares in the company. So really interesting way that social media is being used in this case to help launch a company by using social influencers to get the word out about the company and rewarding them with actual stock. So I thought it's a really interesting move. So we'll keep our eye on sort of what happens with that whole idea. So that's the news, and now jumping into the focus, which is what to expect in 2013. So I have 10 things. Again, these are a collection of what I've read some analysts write about and some commentators, and also just some of my own thoughts about what we might see. So here we go. First of all, the rise of visual marketing, and maybe this should say the continued rise of visual marketing. If you haven't heard the term visual marketing before, really what it means is instead of marketing that is based on words, headlines, and copy and things like that, we're talking about marketing based on images or video. And so this, more and more we're going to see that the way that companies use images and use video are going to be sending the marketing message, maybe even without words. And so it's something to be thinking about as you develop your marketing materials, thinking about, okay, what sort of visual impact can these make so that I'm getting my message across even without words if need be. Another thing to expect, Facebook will likely unveil the Facebook ad network. If you haven't heard me talk about this before, the Facebook ad network is very similar to the Google ad network, where you can create an ad within Google AdWords, but then you can tell it to display across Google's network, so it will show up in YouTube, in Gmail, in all sorts of anything that Google might own, which of course is a lot. So the Facebook ad network would work similarly, except instead of being in other sites that Facebook owns, Facebook would then sell space on it from its ad network to various other websites. So you can see here in this cartoon, the suggestion that Viacom, ABC, AOL, CNN, New York Times, things like that. Those might be websites where you start seeing the Facebook ad network crop up, where ads that people create in Facebook are now showing up on these sites throughout the internet, so that the impact of this for marketers is huge, I think, because Facebook's advertising capabilities, they're so huge and they allow for such specific targeting that then to be able to catch people not only when they're using Facebook but when they're on all these other sites is really going to be a powerful tool, I think. There's a suggestion that there are going to be new Facebook pages unveiled with some advanced tools, and the advanced tools would be around things like the analytics and the metrics, and helping you learn more and more about who these people are who are liking your page, and where they come from and what their interests are, and really giving company page users a much clearer picture of what they can expect. I'm sorry, of who's visiting their page, and therefore how they should market to those people. So we'll keep our eye out for possible new Facebook pages. There's a suggestion that Twitter is going to start personalizing your feed. Now, right now, your Twitter feed works, in my opinion, in sort of the good old way that Facebook used to work, which is that it just shows you all of the tweets from anybody you're following, and it shows you in chronological order of when the most recent tweets were posted, which is what Facebook used to do with its news feed. It used to just show you any activity from your friends in the order that it was happening. Now there's some suggestion that Twitter, like Facebook, is going to start doing this personalization. What that means is they're going to determine, based on your own tweets and based on whose tweets you respond to more, whose feeds you view more, they're going to start deciding for you, basically, which tweets you might be more interested in, and they'll start highlighting those more in your feed, right, instead of just showing a chronological view. So this is if it happens, it's a Facebook or it's a Twitter sort of step in the direction of Facebook, and it'll be interesting to see what the reaction to that is, whether that actually helps people's Twitter experience and sort of gets rid of some of the noise, or whether, like with Facebook, we find a lot of backlash among users saying, no, we really do want to see everything. The next thing to expect, Google Plus will become more important for businesses, but not necessarily because more users are there. Now, you heard me say in the news section of this webinar that Google Plus is going to start requiring that that basically all Google users have a Google Plus profile. Well, the reason Google Plus is going to be important for businesses is that it's very possible that your Google Plus company page will become your sort of hub for managing your Google presence online in general. So that specifically for things like local listings that Google, which Google is so good at, and that so many people rely on when they Google a business, things like that might end up being managed within Google Plus. Your relevance in terms of SEO, search engine optimization, might start to increase based on what's showing up in your Google Plus profile, things like that. So there's a strong feeling out there that Google, because it's putting so much energy behind Google Plus, is going to be more and more important for businesses to pay attention to, because of the fact that Google will start telling businesses that that's where they need to maintain their sort of Google presence. The next thing to expect, social media will be largely a mobile affair. Now, this is not necessarily a it's not something new. Social media on smartphones and the mobile phones, is certainly not a new idea. But what's happening, and I think will continue to happen in 2013, is that that trend is just going to continue more and more, which is going to force companies like Facebook, whose mobile app has not been wildly successful. People don't, think it's wonderful. So it's going to force companies like that to improve their apps. It's also going to, there's going to have to be some solution made for how advertising happens within mobile sites, and social media companies are going to have to prove that they can have effective means of advertising that people are actually paying attention to as the shift to mobile happens. So it will be interesting, particularly for many of our telecommunications clients. I think it'll be interesting to watch this development as social media goes more and more into the mobile world. And speaking of that, the next prediction, which may have even been a prediction when I did a similar webinar last year, is that the Facebook phone is going to be unveiled in 2013. There's been so much talk and speculation about the Facebook phone and what it might look like and what it might do, but everyone, again, because of this sort of trend toward mobile, so many people are saying it's just so natural that Facebook would do a phone. It just seems like a no-brainer and something that they have to be considering. And so there's talk again that 2013 might finally be the year when Facebook does unveil its own phone. That of course would be totally centered on how Facebook users basically centered around all the tools that Facebook allows you to have and all the sharing that Facebook allows you to do. So that would make everything that much easier with your phone. The next prediction here is that there are going to be lots of new terms. Now, it's sort of a given that there will be lots of new terms, but there were a few that I sort of wanted to share because I thought they were interesting or humorous or both. So advertainment. Advertainment is this idea that advertisements now are going to have to be entertaining in order to, or not that they'll have to be, but that you're going to see more and more advertisers moving into a form of advertising that is really a form of entertainment. And it's something that we see a lot, of course, around Super Bowl time, right? That's when commercials that, yes, of course, they are for specific products or services, but they, there's also a strong emphasis on making them really entertaining. And so as as visual marketing becomes more important, we're seeing more video and more images. This idea that advertising has to be, or should be, or is more effective when it's entertaining is going to be really important. So this mix of entertainment and advertisement, I think, is something there'll be a lot more of in 2013. So hence the word advertainment. A twinternship. A twinternship is basically this whole idea that a company hires an intern in order to sort of learn about social media and start the social media presence for that company. So obviously it's a blend of Twitter and internship. The reason I think it's a funny term, but it's also a term that actually has a real nugget of truth in it, and even something to sort of take away from it, which is that it really is, it really does tend to be younger people who sort of live and breathe social media, who are going to be not only most conversant in it, but really have this best ideas about how it works and sort of what the do's and don'ts of it are, and who really get how to use social media. And that's why I've always maintained that as you start getting into various social media, particularly the ones that might be new to you, like Pinterest or Instagram and things like that, it really does. It really will serve you well to ask your younger employees, how they're using it, and even if they might want to help take on some of that updating for your company, because as people, as younger people learn about those services, they'll already have a sense of what you should and shouldn't do, and what those services are used for, and how other people are using them. And so, that sort of mixed with your own marketing savvy might really give you a really good idea for how to launch successfully into those services. And then in the last term here, which I'm sorry I misspelled, it should be phablets, P-H-A-B-L-E-T-S. A phablet is a term that is sort of, recognizing that as technology changes and grows, we're seeing much more of a mix between smartphones and tablets. So hence the word phablet. It's a mix of a smartphone and a tablet. So the iPad Mini and the iPhone, one of the few differences between them is their size, right? And one can imagine, and in fact I saw a skit recently about the various different sizes that Apple was going to be creating. They were going to create the iPad. There was the iPad and the iPad Mini, and then there was the iPad Micro Mini for somebody who wants it smaller, and the iPad Macro Mini and things like that. So anyway, but the real point behind that was, right now you have an iPad, you have an iPad Mini, and you have an iPhone, which are three sizes of very, very similar technology. And so, the real question is, will we see something that is, smaller than a tablet, whether it's from Apple or not? Will we see something that is sort of a little bit smaller than an iPad Mini, a little bigger than an iPhone, that has all the functions of a phone and a tablet? I think there's a good chance that we will see that, and so that's where that term phablet comes from. The next thing to expect, it's very possible that Twitter will be considering going public this year. There's been sort of a lot of speculation about whether they'll do it. I think the big challenge for Twitter, if they do that, will be to avoid some of the problems that surrounded Facebook and its IPO. Facebook really did not do nearly as well as everyone thought it would, or as many people thought it would. And so, Twitter would have to make sure that it doesn't repeat the mistakes of Facebook. But they are still a privately owned company, and so there is a lot of talk about whether they will be going public sometime in 2013. And the last thing I have in terms of what to expect in 2013 is just that social customer service will become a necessity. So no longer will you be able to count on your customers calling you up or sending you an email when they have a problem or an issue that they want to discuss. More and more you're going to be see people using Facebook as an easy means, or Twitter as an easy means to get in contact with you, and expecting a response that way. And so you're going to have to train your at least some of your customer service people into how to use social media effectively and how to respond to people in ways that let everyone have a voice, and also make sure that people are really being helped in a timely manner and in a friendly manner. So I just think that we're going to see that more and more in 2013 be an important thing. So before we close, just a small handful of takeaways today from these. First of all, I think it's a really good idea to just sort of make a roadmap or a strategy for the year. What are the what are the sites that you want to start being on that you haven't been on yet? What do you want to do? What sort of goals do you want to make around how often you're going to be posting and what sort of presence you're going to be having? Maybe it's a strategy that has to do with how many people you're going to engage or what that engagement is going to look like. But really, where do you want to be at the end of this year in terms of social media is the question to ask, and how then will you get there? And related to that, go ahead and just start with some simple goals. If right now you are posting once a week on your social networks, try to up that to 2 or 3 times a week. Do just a few small things that are going to help you improve your social reach and your presence on Facebook and Twitter and Google+. Maybe your simple goal is one new site that you want to make sure you're on. Maybe you're on Facebook and Twitter, but now you need to give some attention to Google+, and so you're going to go down that road. Another takeaway, just make sure you find a good way to keep updated, whether it's these webinars, and of course I love to have you, listening in, or whether it's, making sure you visit Mashable every day or signing up for a subscription to Smart Brief on social media, whatever it is, make sure you have some good way to keep apprised of all the changes that are happening in social media, so that you're not suddenly missing out on a big development that you should have known about. And the last takeaway here is just to remember that the best way to learn social media and to know it well is to just practice, practice, practice. What I mean by that is honestly, I mean personal social media use in this case. The people who are, I think, most adept at using social media for business are people who live and breathe it in their personal lives, right? And because I, do social media for Pivot, it means I think that I probably use social media a lot more personally than I otherwise would. And I think that really helps me keep updated on what is happening, what the latest developments are, because I'm using it all the time, and so when things change, I notice, and you can see things changing, and you hear about it more quickly, things like that. So go ahead and bust out your mobile phone and start taking pictures using Instagram instead of just using your normal camera on your phone, or start doing some pins on Pinterest and just get some experience doing that and everything personally, and that's going to help you get to know social media much better than reading any article I ever could. So that's all I have. There are a couple of questions here. And so some. Let me just see if I can answer these really quickly before we close. There's a question that says, right now Facebook ads have something of a low return and click-through. So do you think that new metrics on, I think referring to the company pages, will add value? I think that's a great question. I do wonder if Facebook ads are always going to have a a slightly lower click-through, at least for ads directly on Facebook itself. And part of that reason for that is, first of all, people are used to them, and so they're used to ignoring them. And also, I think that that's just not why. And people are on Facebook for a short time, and they're doing it to to get in and see what's going on with their friends, not to click on an ad. I do think the things that are going to be more effective, I think the Facebook ad network is going to help boost the effectiveness of Facebook ads a lot. I also think that that sponsored stories seem to be a good way. I'm sorry, I don't mean sponsored story. I mean promoted posts. Promoted posts for companies is a good way of getting in front of people in a different way than Facebook ads, and I think those also are showing more effectiveness. So I don't know that the new metrics on company pages will help as much, although I think it will help you engage with people in a way that's, since the more you know about who's there and who's following you and liking you on Facebook, I do think that's going to allow you to be able to market to them better just in general. Another question is, last question here is, which of these changes do or most need to be watched for or adjusted for in order not to miss out or get left behind? I think that's a great question. Certainly things like, the Twitter IPO is not going to, affect most of us greatly. I think it, first of all, depends on where you are. If you have a Facebook page and if you have a Twitter feed, then the changes that are going to be happening within Facebook and Twitter are obviously the ones that are going to affect you most. So it really is whatever touches your circle, touches your business most. Those are the ones that you need to be watching out for. If you're not on Google Plus yet as a company, then the changes that they're making, aren't going to affect you until you're actually part of it. So, I do think because of Facebook's reach and its importance in terms of social media, and I just saw an article yesterday that talked about how, once again, Facebook was shown to be by, far and away the most dominant social network in 2012. And so, given that it is still so prominent, even with all the frustrations that people have with it, I think any change that happens within Facebook is going to be an important one to keep up with, because it will affect how we all run our company pages, and even things that they change for individuals affects how people use Facebook and therefore have consequences for us as companies as well. So that'd be my answer to that question. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Next time, 2 weeks from today, on January 18th, I'm going to be talking about the new Facebook privacy controls. I talked about them a little bit in the news last time, but I'm going to be giving a sort of clearer look at those so that everyone knows what they do. Dave Newstarden's next Straight on Telco Marketing webinar, I believe, will be the last Wednesday of this month, but I'm not entirely sure, so I've still got a TBD there. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great weekend. Again, Happy New Year, and remember to keep your media social and your talk straight.